Episode 105. Harry, dear, are you sure you're all right? Said Mrs. Weasley in a worried voice, as they walked around the unkempt patch of grass in the middle of Grimmauld Place. You look ever so pale. Are you sure you slept this morning? You go upstairs to bed right now, and you can have a couple hours sleep before dinner, all right? He nodded. Here was a ready-made excuse not to talk to any of the others, which was precisely what he wanted. So when she opened the front door, he proceeded straight past the troll's leg umbrella stand and up the stairs and hurried into his and Ron's bedroom. Here he began to pace up and down, past the two beds and Phineas Nigellus's empty portrait, his brain teeming and seething with questions and ever more dreadful ideas. How had he become a snake? Perhaps he was an animagus. No, he couldn't be. He would know. Perhaps Voldemort was an animagus. Yes, thought Harry, that would fit. He would turn into a snake, of course, and when he's possessing me, then we both transform. That still doesn't explain how I got to London and back to my bed in the space of about 5 minutes, though. But then Voldemort's about the most powerful wizard in the world apart from Dumbledore. It's probably no problem at all to him to transport people like that. And then, with a terrible stab of panic, he thought, but this is insane. If Voldemort's possessing me, I'm giving him a clear view into the headquarters of the Order of the Phoenix right now. He'll know who's in the Order and where Sirius is. And I've heard loads of stuff I shouldn't have. Everything Sirius told me the first night I was here. There was only one thing for it. He would have to leave Grimmauld Place straight away. He would spend Christmas at Hogwarts without the others, which would keep them safe over the holidays at least. But no, that wouldn't do. There were still plenty of people at Hogwarts to maim and injure. What if it was Seamus Dean or Neville next time? He stopped his pacing and stood staring at Phineas Nigellus's empty frame. A leaden sensation was settling in the pit of his stomach. He had no alternative. He was going to have to return to Privet Drive, cut himself off from other wizards entirely. Well, if he had to do it, he thought, there was no point hanging around. Trying with all his might not to think how the Dursleys were going to react when they found him on their doorstep 6 months earlier than they had expected. He strode over to his trunk, slammed the lid shut and locked it, then glanced around automatically for Hedwig before remembering that she was still at Hogwarts. Well, her cage would be one less thing to carry. He seized one end of his trunk and had dragged it halfway toward the door when a sneaky voice said, "Running away, are we?" He looked around. Phineas Nigellus had appeared upon the canvas of his portrait and was leaning against the frame, watching Harry with an amused expression on his face. "Not running away, no," said Harry shortly, dragging his trunk a few more feet across the room. "I thought," said Phineas Nigellus, stroking his pointed beard, "that to belong in Gryffindor House you were supposed to be brave. It looks to me as though you would have been better off in my own house. We Slytherins are brave, yes, but not stupid. For instance, given the choice, we will always choose to save our own necks." "It's not my own neck I'm saving," said Harry tersely, tugging the trunk over a patch of particularly uneven, moth-eaten carpet right in front of the door. "Oh, I see," said Phineas Nigellus, still stroking his beard. "This is no cowardly flight. You are being noble." Harry ignored him. His hand was on the doorknob when Phineas Nigellus said lazily, "I have a message for you from Albus Dumbledore." Harry spun around. "What is it?" "Stay where you are." "I haven't moved," said Harry, his hand still upon the doorknob. "So what's the message?" "I have just given it to you, dolt," said Phineas Nigellus smoothly. "Dumbledore says, stay where you are." Why? Said Harry eagerly, dropping the end of his trunk. Why does he want me to stay? What else did he say? Nothing whatsoever, said Phineas Nigellus, raising a thin black eyebrow as though he found Harry impertinent. Harry's temper rose to the surface like a snake rearing from long grass. He was exhausted. He was confused beyond measure. He had experienced terror, relief, and then terror again in the last 12 hours, and still Dumbledore did not want to talk to him. So that's it, is it? He said loudly. Stay there? That's all anyone could tell me after I got attacked by those Dementors, too. Just stay put while the grown-ups sort it out, Harry. We won't bother telling you anything, though, because your tiny little brain might not be able to cope with it. You know, said Phineas Nigellus, even more loudly than Harry, this is precisely why I loathed being a teacher. Young people are so infernally convinced that they are absolutely right about everything. Has it not occurred to you, my poor puffed-up popinjay, that there might be an excellent reason why the headmaster of Hogwarts is not confiding every tiny detail of his plans to you? Have you never paused, while feeling hard done by, to note that following Dumbledore's orders has never led you into harm? No. Like all young people, you are quite sure that you alone feel and think. You alone recognize danger. You alone are the only one clever enough to realize that the Dark Lord may be planning. He is planning something to do with me, then, said Harry swiftly. Did I say that? Said Phineas Nigellus, idly examining his silk gloves. Now, if you will excuse me, I have better things to do than to listen to adolescent agonizing. Good day to you. And he strolled into his frame and out of sight. Fine, go then, Harry bellowed at the empty frame, and tell Dumbledore thanks for nothing. The empty canvas remained silent. Fuming, Harry dragged his trunk back to the foot of his bed, then threw himself face down upon the moth-eaten covers, his eyes shut, his body heaving and aching. He felt he had journeyed miles and miles. It seemed impossible that less than 24 hours ago, Cho Chang had been approaching him under the mistletoe. He was so tired. He was scared to sleep. Yet he did not know how long he could fight it. Dumbledore had told him to stay. That must mean he was allowed to sleep. But he was scared. What if it happened again? He was sinking into shadows. It was as though a film in his head had been waiting to start. He was walking down a deserted corridor toward a plain black door, past rough stone walls, torches, and an open doorway onto a flight of stone steps leading downstairs on the left. He reached the black door but could not open it. He stood gazing at it, desperate for entry. Something he wanted with all his heart lay beyond, a prize beyond his dreams. If only his scar would stop prickling, then he would be able to think more clearly. "Harry," said Ron's voice from far, far away. "Mom says dinner's ready, but she'll save you something if you want to stay in bed." Harry opened his eyes, but Ron had already left the room. He doesn't want to be on his own with me, Harry thought, not after what he heard Moody say. He supposed none of them would want him there any more now that they knew what was inside him. He would not go down to dinner. He would not inflict his company upon them. He turned over onto his other side and after a while dropped back off to sleep, waking much later in the early hours of the morning with his insides aching with hunger, and Ron snoring in the next bed. Squinting around the room, he saw the dark outline of Phineas Nigellus standing again in his portrait, and it occurred to Harry that Dumbledore had probably set Phineas Nigellus to watch over him, in case he attacked anybody else.